Good morning, day 4 of my 31-day challenge, and I went out with the drone this morning because I thought that was the best thing to do since I'm not feeling brilliant. I've got a bit of a cold, as you may know if you've been following on these videos. Anyway, I went out and photographed these wetlands, and I'm just going to show you a quick edit on those. This is the shot that I'm going to work up. As you can see, the controller for the DJI is so bright that unless you look at the histogram, you're always underexposed. And hell, look what I've done. I've underexposed the damn thing. So I'm just going to hit the auto button and it reveals all the beautiful detail. There you go. It's perfect. But by doing that, because I've underexposed, I've also introduced a bit of noise and a bit of craziness going on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going down to detail and I'm going to hit the denoise button. And I'm just going to fix that up a little bit, probably just 50 odd, between 50 and 60% on the amount of denoise, and just click enhance and it will do what it needs to do. It was 6 degrees this morning, so flying the drone was quite good because I could just sit in the car and do all this while it was all happening. So you can see now there's my enhanced version. That's there we go, and it's done a pretty good job. If I look at the before and after, that's before, that's after. It's done a pretty good job of removing some of that horrible noise. It's nice and smooth now, which is what I like. Okay, first thing is that the blues need a little bit of a bit of a tickle up. So I'm just going to go to the temperature and just pull this back until the blue becomes a little bit nicer, and maybe pull the tint back a little bit as well, and a little bit more on the blue. That's kind of nice. I'm going to my effects because I know that if I put in some dehaze, it will make that water, that blue, go a little bit nicer, a little bit more rich, like that. And just a smidgen of clarity. I'm going to zoom in. Those highlights look a little bit hot, so I'm going to go into my highlight slider and just pull that back a little bit. So that so far looks pretty good. And I will probably take it from here into Photoshop. The other thing, make sure that remove chromatic aberration is set. Let's look at our detail again and just add some sharpening to that file. Don't want to make it too crispy, but it's crispy enough. And then holding down the option key, clicking on masking and putting that sharpening pretty much where you need it. Okay, that's pretty good so far. The issue I have is it's dark in the middle here and then light on the sides. So whether that was obviously the light in the morning or this is a deeper part of the water, deeper channel, I'm not 100% sure, but this was obviously a road at some stage that went through these wetlands. But it's pretty nice, and this is just outside of Dunsborough. It's pretty cool. Okay, I've got everything that I think I need to do. I could look at my vignetting, so go to optics, manual, and vignette it a bit, but no, that kind of stuffs it. So let's not do that. Let's click open. And there we are in Photoshop, where I like to be. And I'm going to go straight down to selective color. And I want to see if I can get the yellows a little bit more yellow and try to separate them from that green. But we'll just see, because yellow and green are very close to each other. Yeah, you can see now I can get more yellow in the trees, but it's making the grass a little bit yellow as well. But what I'll do is I'll just apply that and just selectively add it. So Command I, just to invert the mask. And then I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And this is just going to be loosey-goosey, roughy and nuffy. And B for brush, white as a foreground color. You know the drill. It's pretty much all the same. 0 on the keyboard, you get 100%. And I'm just going to add a little bit of sort of, you know what, bit of yellow, because I want to just separate those colors out a bit. I mean, it might look epoxy, but let's just do it first and then decide afterwards if it's epoxy or not. And of course, we know this is cheating. This is not how it was. The reality is that they were very similar colors of green. But, you know, this is my interpretation. It's not to be judged by the, you know, National Geographic or whoever else or some nature magazine. This is me creating what I want to create, and you'll see if it looks good or not. So let's zoom out, bring that to the center a bit more, and turn that on and off. Yeah, I like that better because it just makes the trees stand out more. I think that's good. Okay, let's address the blues as well. Let's go create another selective color adjustment layer. Go to our blues and add a bit more cyan. Take a bit of yellow out. And all of a sudden that blue becomes really quite nice and rich. So it's sort of like it's saturating, but it's not really saturating. It's just making the color a bit more pure. Well, a little bit more fake, because we know this is the muddy wetland, not the deepest blue ocean in the world. But anyway, I don't care. Like I said, this is just me creating the art I want to create. Hey, look, there's a little, there must have been a bird or something in there that just, oh yeah, I think I can see a little duck right there. There we go, there's a little duck right there. He must have jumped in and out of the water or whatever, and then created that little ring of whatever. Sauron. So Command Option C, let's add a border around it and just see how that looks. I mean, that's kind of nice. Now, I want to sort of clean up a few areas there. Let's see if I can address this issue with the light differential. I mean, it probably is okay. And also, I want to make this a little bit more, you know, vibrant. So let's go have a look at where our levels are. As you can see, we have the light is mainly there. I can pull that up. And we could probably address some of the problems by just adding a little bit of light in the water there. So let's invert that. Beef brush, paint with the white. Doing this, I'm just doing all this with my mouse. Normally I would do it with my Wacom pen on my tablet, on the Wacom. But because I'm recording this with a microphone, God, that looks terrible. Let's take that back. I'll keep that there, but I'll just drop it back to about 50%. Just to help a little bit. Just brightens it up a smidgen. Let's go to adjustments. Let's do a curve. Let's add a multiply blend mode to it. Drop the opacity back. And if you hit V on the keyboard, which is your move tool, if you're on that layer and you hit between 1 and 0 on your keyboard, it will change the opacity of that layer without having to go in. You don't want to have to go in and sort of like dick around with it. Just hit this on the keyboard. 10%, 50%, 100%, 50%, 20%, 80%, 60%, 10%, 60, 50%. Okay, let's do 50%. We'll invert it. B for brush, big brush with a low opacity, say 20%. And just darken that down a little bit and darken this down a little bit. There we go. That's kind of fixed that a little bit. It's a little bit better. Okay. Not brilliant. We can go back to this layer and just change the opacity again. 70%. It's a little bit all over the show. 70%. Let's work on that. And then think about this again. There was a bit of a light patch through there that just looked a bit weird, which is a light patch that I created earlier. I created this earlier. Okay. Let's go back to the start. Option, click on the eye, before and after. Before and after. You can see this is how I edit. The light is escaping out the sides. It's nowhere where it's supposed to be, and now it's where it's supposed to be. That looks much better. Flatten that because I can. Let's save it. Geez, what are we going to call this one? Wetlands. WL. Ha. Suck on that. And 78,000. Wetlands 78,000. MV3. Mavic Pro 3. Save it to my LC file. And click OK. All right, we're saved. Now, is that perfectly in the middle? Is it perfectly straight? Let's find out. Command R, bring up your rulers. Grab this, it should snap to the middle. It does. And as you can see, we're not really in the middle, and we're a little bit off straight. So Command A, Command T. I'm just going to make it a bit wider. It's nature, it can afford to be a little bit wider. And just bring it towards the center. That looks good. And I may just give it a bit of a twist. So Command T, right mouse click, click skew, and just bring that bottom bit out a bit. Return, Command deselect. Remember, if you right mouse click on the guide, you can clear all the guides if you've got a million guides there. History, and if we just go back to where it was, to where we fixed it, and it's in the middle. That's good. Let's put a border around it. Have another look. Nice. Let's get rid of some distractions. J on the keyboard to give you your healing tool, which doesn't work very good in Photoshop. It can leave some weird stuff. Like, let's see if it does it on this. That's not too bad. Sometimes it does weird things. I wish Photoshop would just, Adobe would just fix their shit. They probably, if they listen to this, they'll probably go, maybe you should stop talking shit. Anyway, fixing up a few little bits that don't look good. Anything that's right on the edge that could be distracting. That's looking better. That one there's distracting. Fits outside of the composition a bit too much. Although that's looking a little bit, almost looks like it needs to, this stuff needs to come out, but anyway, that's all right. Save it. And I think that's pretty good. Let's go out. One more thing I'm just going to do is run an action which will fix up my mid-tone contrast, enhance presence, and you can see how it really kicks in that mid-tone contrast and just gives it a nice little pop. Also saturates things a little bit more, but look how much this has all come out because of that. Now, if you want this action, you go buy it from Les Walkling. I'm sure he'll sell it to you. So Les, can you sell me your actions? The enhanced presence 3D Plus is an absolute winner. I do love it. It's a little bit hot. Maybe I'll just drop the opacity back. Anyway, it's the secret weapon to making your images look good. Command Shift E to flatten it, Command S to save it, and that is a wrap.